Hello, horror fans, and welcome back to Top 10 Tales here on J vs. Horror. This week's episode revolves around our top 10 villainous characters in the Tales from the Crypt series. Unlike most series, the villain is usually the lead character in Tales from the Crypt, as most episodes feature a cosmic dose of karma for bad people who do bad things. Guys, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe for new content added daily, and let's get started. Now, this list is totally subjective because every episode has at least one major villain, sometimes more. So please, by all means, leave your favorites in the comment section below. At number 10, Season 4, Episode 11, Split Personality. A con man, played by Joe Pesci, tricks a pair of reclusive twin sisters into dating him so he can steal their inheritance. However, he soon gets a nasty surprise when he shockingly discovers that the twins themselves are harboring a dark and dangerous secret. Guys, I love this episode, and Joe Pesci is a real dirtbag in this one. And just to clear something up, there's been some talk amongst people about this episode where I've heard some people say it doesn't make any sense because Joe Pesci is narrating the story and then he ends up dying at the end. But I think if you pay close attention, you will see that there is a point in the story where he stops narrating. He discovers what his next move should be, and so he enacts his plan to act like he himself has a twin brother who is handling their business dealings in South America. And so they can't both be in the same place at the same time. He tries to trick these sisters into believing that they can both marry one of the brothers. Now, what he's trying to do to the sisters here isn't necessarily what makes Joe Pesci such a great villain. There's an opening scene with veteran actor Burt Young where Pesci cons him out of a ton of money that he was going to use for his son's surgery. There's also a scene earlier in the episode where Pesci has a prostitute in bed with him and he's telling her this story and she says, "You don't pay me to listen to you talk," and he smacks her and says, "I pay you to be whatever." So yeah, Joe Pesci was always a great villain in Goodfellas, Casino, stuff like that, and it's fun to see him here as a sleazy con man who definitely gets what he deserves. At number 9, Season 6, Episode 6, The Bribe. A newly appointed fire inspector, played by Terry O'Quinn, gets more than he bargained for when a sleazy strip club owner, played by S.I. Morales, bribes him with a dangerous offer. Kimberly Williams Paisley stops by to play the daughter, and Benicio del Toro is in this too as Bill, a security guard at the strip club. This is a fun episode, and it's one where you ask yourself, is Terry O'Quinn a villain? I mean, at the beginning, he comes off like a caring father, not a stepfather. We also get Kimberly Williams Paisley, and I think this is very interesting because we've seen Kimberly Williams Paisley in Father of the Bride and Father of the Bride Part 2 playing a daughter, and now we get to see her playing Terry O'Quinn's daughter, who of course was the stepfather. Terry O'Quinn's character becomes the fire inspector, and he becomes instantly upset when he learns that the old fire inspector was taking bribes from this club owner. But he's not left with much choice. His daughter needs money for college, and she's being shut out by her boyfriend's parents because they don't have a lot of money. So he decides to take the bribe, but stick it to the club owner. And here's where the villainous stuff really starts. He goes and finds an old firebug who sets fires and basically asks him to go burn this club down. Now, after this happens, we realize the club is full of people, and when Terry O'Quinn shows up to the scene, he is very uncaring about this fact. S.I. Morales is burned beyond recognition in this, and Terry O'Quinn just doesn't seem to care. He does ask, did any of our guys get hurt? But he doesn't seem too worried about that either at this point. Later on, we're told that there were more people inside the club than he thought, including his young daughter. But there's still more to the story than that. And we see O'Quinn's character get hit with a giant anvil of cosmic karma at the end of this episode. Guys, great episode. One of the best cast episodes in the whole series. And an episode I think that shows people not everyone is who they appear to be, or as valiant as they appear to be. At number 8, I'm throwing you guys a curveball. We have a 3-way tie. It's Season 2, Episode 6, The Thing from the Grave, Season 5, Episode 2, As Ye Sow, and Season 6, Episode 10, In the Groove. And the reason why I chose these 3 episodes at one spot is because they all feature the same actor, Miguel Ferreira. In Season 2, Episode 6, Miguel plays a jealous boyfriend who is abusive to Terry Hatcher. In Season 5, Episode 2, he plays a hitman who kills a priest. And finally, in Season 6, Episode 10, he plays a radio DJ who tries to murder his sister. Miguel Ferreira is one of these few actors who kept showing up in the series and always did great work. And you could argue that in Season 5, Episode 2, he's not the main villain, but he does have a great part at the end where he shoots Hector Elizondo and tells him, "In your ear, father." At number 7, Season 6, Episode 2, Only Skin Deep. Coming off a bad relationship, a man with a history of violent behavior, Peter Onorati, picks up a mysterious masked woman, Sherry Rose, at a Halloween party who is even more unstable than he is. Guys, I picked this episode and this character because Peter Onorati really plays a great jerk in this, and you can tell he's been very abusive to his past girlfriend and plans on being abusive to any future girlfriend he has. But he meets up with something he never expected, which is a woman who is just as evil as he is, if not more. And guess what? She has a few tricks for him on Halloween. At number 6, Season 5, Episode 8, Well-Cooked Hams. In a desperate attempt to spice up his act, a hack turn-of-the-century musician played by Billy Zane kills a rival magician played by Martin Sheen and steals his famed prop, the Box of Death. And guys, in this one we have Billy Zane playing what is basically just another dirtbag, and he's a horrible magician who is trying to up his game by killing off his competitors and stealing their tricks. Martin Sheen plays 3 roles in this episode and does a great job, but it's ultimately Billy Zane who is the villain and gets exactly what he deserves at the end. At number 5, Season 6, Episode 11, Surprise Party. A man, played by Adam Storkey, murders his father in order to inherit a house that burned down years ago. But he soon gets a nasty surprise when he learns the house itself harbors a horrible legacy. In this episode, guys, we get Adam Storkey, who most of you might remember as playing Larry Underwood in Mick Garris's 1995 miniseries The Stand. He's a man who's tired of waiting for his inheritance and goes to see his elderly sick father, only to smother him with a pillow and head out. He wants to sell this property where this house used to be that burned down years ago. When he gets there, all the lights are on and he realizes there's a surprise party. Now, what happens next is very interesting. We had Jake Busey and a few other people in this, and they're all having this big party, and you can tell from the vibe it's supposed to be like the 1960s. And so once he goes in there, he starts partying with them. He's drinking with them, and he takes one of the girls upstairs. One thing leads to another, and he murders her and then burns down the house. And it seems to be that a cycle of events that have occurred in the past are repeating themselves through him, and he hasn't learned anything through his father's mistakes. At number 4, Season 3, Episode 2, Carrion Death. An escaped rapist and murderer played by Kyle MacLachlan, running for the Mexican border, ends up handcuffed by a state trooper. The convict manages to kill the trooper, but not before the cop swallows the key to the handcuffs, forcing the convict to drag his heavy corpse across the desert to freedom while being stalked by a hungry vulture. Guys, this is a fun episode. It's really a departure for Kyle MacLachlan, who we've seen in stuff like Twin Peaks and Blue Velvet. He plays a rapist murderer in this one who's, trying to get to Mexico, and he's being stalked by this cop who just won't give up. And then after he kills him, he has to drag the body across the desert. Now, there's a lot of times where people will watch this one and they'll say, well, this is dumb. There was a lot of things he could have done besides try to drag this body up a mountain. And he could have cut the guy's hand off. There was, windows inside this little shed where they had to fight. There was all kinds of things he could have tried to do before dragging a corpse across the desert. He could have even cut the guy's stomach open and tried to get the key back. But to no avail. He does try this, and it fails miserably. He almost makes it, and we get what is one of the most satisfying endings in Tales history, in my opinion. At number 3, Season 2, Episode 18, Fitting Punishment. A funeral home director, played by Moses Gunn, cuts corners when it comes to his own line of work. Following a tragic car accident, he is made the legal guardian of his teenage nephew, played by John Clare. The nephew is eventually made as an apprentice mortician in order to earn his room and board, and soon becomes a victim to his uncle's stinginess and greed. This is a great episode, guys, and it's one of the only episodes, as far as I know, to feature an entire black cast. Moses Gunn, who plays the funeral home director here, is absolutely terrifying. I mean, if you had to live with this old man, there's no telling what you would do. And he's very uncaring to his customers. He will saw people's feet off to get them in the right size coffin. He will do whatever it takes. And he ends up hurting his nephew tremendously. I don't want to give away the end here, but he definitely gets what's coming to him here, and it's a great episode. I mean, just the meanness of Moses Gunn in this is what makes him such a great villain. It really reminds me of another great actor named Ozzie Davis, but I believe Moses Gunn was less seen on TV and in movies because he was more of a stage actor. At number 2, Season 2, Episode 3, Three's a Crowd. A down-on-their-luck couple, played by Gavin O'Hurley and Ruth DeSosa, are invited to a cabin owned by their wealthy former best man, Paul Lieber. But the unstable husband is convinced that his wife is having an affair. He finds that he was wrong about many things towards the end. Man, what a great episode. There's some flaws in some of these episodes. There's some flaws in the logic. And I think the flaw in this one is that early on, the girlfriend and the best man, or the wife and the best man, know that he's very suspicious of their behavior, but they don't stop the behavior. Even though they are not having an affair, they're basically planning a surprise party for him, which this all goes, out the window when he goes nuts because he believes they're having an affair, and he kills the best friend and then kills his wife, but only to realize that he's made a terrible, terrible mistake, even further than what I could explain. You really have to watch the episode to see the last scene of this one. This is one of those final scenes that it's a gut punch. It's a really good episode, and some great acting here. At number 1, Season 5, Episode 1, Death of Some Salesman. A sneaky cemetery plot salesman, played by Ed Begley Jr., finds new victims in the form of a strange hillbilly family with a fortune buried in their basement and a burning hatred for Salesman. This is such a great episode, guys. This could be on a top 10 favorite episode list. It could be on a top 10 most hilarious episode list. It really features Tim Curry here as the main character, but he's playing three roles. And you could say that, yes, Ed Begley Jr. is the villain in this episode, but also this entire hillbilly family, played by Tim Curry, the mother, the father, and the daughter, are very excessively crazy. I mean, he just does such a great job in these performances. And you see also that, it's not just what Ed Begley has done that's led him to this place. It's the fact that they hate salesmen. And I think they've probably been conned by a salesman in the past, and so they've killed a ton of salesmen, and they have them stashed in a house. And they basically set him up to marry their daughter, but it's a test, I guess, is what they're doing. They're testing him, and he fails miserably. And really, guys, the best thing about this episode is Tim Curry. He plays all three roles and nails all three, and he is hilarious. There is a sex scene in this with him and Ed Begley Jr., where he's playing the daughter, and it's just disgusting. I mean, she is probably the most disgusting human being you could ever imagine having sex with. And Ed Begley Jr. is basically forced to do it or he'll be killed. If he's not accepted by her to be her new husband, then the family has already decided they're going to get rid of him. And like I said, he's being tested here, and it never crosses his mind because he sees an opportunity to marry the girl and steal the inheritance from the family. So that's what he goes for. Instead of just trying to get out of the situation like most normal people would do, his eyes get real big when he sees the prize, and he goes for it. Unfortunately, doesn't end well for him, and it never does in these guys. All right, guys, that's my top 10 favorite villains. I had a couple honorable mentions, but the only reason why I didn't throw these in there is because I talked about them on my top 10 favorite episodes. I would say Martin Kemp in the episode Escape from Season 6 is a great villain. He just doesn't care about anyone, stabs everyone in the back, rats people out, murders people, does whatever he has to do to get out of this prison, only to find out that everything he's done will lead to his demise. Another one is, of course, Treat Williams in None But the Lonely Heart. I mean, you could argue that he's probably one of the worst villains ever just because he murders old women. He marries and murders old women, and he's done it repeatedly. And then the other one I wanted to mention was from Season 5, and that's Forever Ambergris, which has Roger Daltrey from The Who. And Roger Daltrey plays Dalton, a photographer who is jealous of another younger photographer played by Steve Buscemi who seems to have the eye. And he wants to take him out. And he also wants his girlfriend, who's played by the very beautiful Lizette Anthony in that episode. And so he sets up a terrible, terrible scheme to get rid of Steve Buscemi in a horrific way, which, of course, backfires on him. It's interesting enough, guys, that all the Tales from the Crypt episodes are basically morality tales. They tell people that if you treat people like crap, you can expect bad things to happen to you. So why would anyone want to ban these, right? They started out in the 50s as horror comics, and of course Christian conservatives went after them as they did horror movies in the 1980s and eventually got them pulled from shelves because they were afraid they were damaging the youth of America. And, later on, Ted Bundy, when he was trying to figure out a way to not get executed, he tried several different things. And one of the things he tried was to have a, televangelist come to his prison cell, and he told him about how pornography and these sleazy detective magazines and horror comics and stuff like that affected him as a youth. And so that didn't help either. I mean, even though that was years after the ban. But it just shows you that some people, it's not about what you watch, it's how you process it. And I always say this, when they say, well, so-and-so watched this and they did that. And I say, well, who cares where stupid people get their ideas from? I mean, a stupid person might read the box of the back of a box of vanilla wafers and decide that's telling him to go kill somebody. Mark David Chapman thought that the book Catcher in the Rye was telling him to kill someone. So who cares where stupid people get their ideas from? Because if they're truly that fragile, they're going to get stupid ideas from somewhere, whether it's a comic book or a movie or a video game or music. It's easy to blame society when you don't want to look at yourself as being the real fault. Guys, that's all we have for today. Please like and subscribe. And like I said, guys, leave me yours. Leave me your top 10, top 5, top 3, number 1, whatever, favorite villain in Tales from the Crypt. And guys, I put all the links to these episodes in the description so you can go find them. You can go down the list. If you hear one that you think you want to go watch, just go down to the description, click that link, and boom, you're there. You can watch the episode that quick. All right, guys, that's all we've got for this week, and we'll talk to you the next time we've got something worth talking about. Bye.